Have you ever had to deliver bad news? I'm Christy Birchfield, and today we are looking at one verse in the book of Daniel. It's chapter 4, verse 19. Now, we've been working our way through Daniel chapter 4, which is actually a letter that was written by King Nebuchadnezzar to his entire kingdom, telling them about a dream that he had and about the circumstances around this dream and what he learned from it. It's kind of an interesting story because it doesn't show the king in really a favorable light at all. And so that wouldn't typically be what you would think would be broadcast by the king to his entire kingdom. Well, here we kind of get to see why. At least we start to. Now, he's had this dream. Nobody can interpret it for him. He finally asks Daniel and says, I know you can because you are with the holy gods. And even though Nebuchadnezzar doesn't really understand who God is and what God is all about, he knows that Daniel does. So he asked Daniel, help me, tell me about this dream. Daniel finds himself in a really difficult situation. And if you have ever had to lead through challenging circumstances, a lot of times you're going to find yourself in a situation where you need to deliver bad news to someone in a position of authority. Some people respond to bad news better than others, and that can make a big difference in terms of how you choose to deliver that. Well, the king had not typically responded well to bad news, and Daniel knows this. And he knows the king is not going to like the interpretation. But we see some interesting things here in Daniel chapter 4, verse 19. It says, Then Daniel, also called Belteshazzar, was greatly perplexed for a time, and his thoughts terrified him. So the king said, Belteshazzar, do not let the dream or its meaning alarm you. Belteshazzar answered, My lord, if only the dream applied to your enemies and its meaning to your adversaries. We see that Daniel probably had a pretty good relationship with the king. At least they knew each other well. Daniel is being given the interpretation by God, and it bothers him because he knows, like I said, he knows what this means, and he knows what this means for the king. The king notices this and says, hey, it's going to be okay. I just really need to know what the truth is. Don't let it alarm you. At which point Daniel starts out delivering bad news by basically saying, oh, if only this was for your enemies and not for you. But it unfortunately does apply to Nebuchadnezzar, and he's going to tell him that. Daniel wasn't going to lie to the king. We've all been around people who, instead of telling somebody the truth, because it might make them feel bad or might hurt their feelings or they might not like it, we've maybe altered the truth a bit and given some other information instead. Daniel wasn't going to do that. Daniel wasn't going to make up something. He was going to tell the king the truth, but he wanted the king to understand that the king might not like it and he might not enjoy the message. Having that level of honesty with people can be really challenging. But honestly, it does us no good if we misrepresent ourselves or our message to other people. Are we sharing the message of Christ? We talk about the message of Christ in the gospel as being the good news. But to people who are not following Christ, it doesn't always sound like good news in the moment. Are we working through relationship? Like I said, Daniel and the king, they obviously knew each other well. The king could read Daniel's facial expression and understood that there was a problem. But are we willing to be truthful with people without sugarcoating or watering down the impact of the message, but also with the compassion and the empathy that comes from having a relationship with that person? Do we share bad news or do we hide it? Leading through challenging circumstances means we're willing to take the steps to walk through difficult and challenging news that we have to deliver. Does that describe you today? If you've missed any of this series, make sure you click on the link in the description below. There's definitely a lot that leads up to this, but be sure to subscribe as well. We're going to continue through and really understand what the dream was and what the impact is going to be for King Nebuchadnezzar as we continue through the next several days. I'll see you tomorrow.